Hi, Chris Montera here with the EMS Garage and FERNO, the 2020 Vision Series. And I'm joined by Justin and Mike, and we're going to talk about an ambulance design that I'm quite frankly pretty excited about and looking at it from the national and international view. So Justin, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks very much, Chris. Thanks for having us today.
Great, thank you. And Mike?
Doing very good.
Great.
Glad to be here.
Well, so Justin, tell me where you're from and what you do in your system.
So I work for South East Coast Ambulance in the UK. We're a regional ambulance service just below London, in the southeast of England. We cover an operating area of about 4,000 square miles, and we've got a fleet of vehicles that are 800 strong. Unlike the States, we tend to split those vehicles out into different segments, so we'll have an emergency and non-emergency transport function. And of the emergency vehicles, we'll then divide that into ambulances. No surprise there, but we also are heavily dependent upon cars and getting the clinician to the patient to make that initial assessment and really then start determining the best way for that patient to be treated. Because unlike the States, we're paid on hospital avoidance and not going to the ER, as opposed to pay per transport. Our kind of volume annually is probably about 680,000 responses. We'll have 1 million phone calls requesting assistance, and we'll transport 1.5 million journeys a year in some way, shape or form. So it's a big system. It's a big system. But
so in your little, I guess, subset system, what do you transport with those 800 vehicles, or what's your transport rate out of that?
It's about, so on the emergency fleet, because the non-emergency fleet tends to do a lot of inter-facility transfers and scheduled transports for supportive care and community care and that kind of stuff. But for the emergency fleet, they'll transport about 50% of those calls.
Oh, wow.
And we divert at the point of call, if we're able to alternate care providers. So we can avoid taking patients to hospital if possible. But we can also avoid attending the patient in the first place if we can do some online triage, but also give some clinical advice over the phone and empower the patient to do something for themselves if it's appropriate.
Wow, that's great. I think that's neat when you start to think about the future of what we can do here in the United States. I know we're working on that. We're not as sophisticated yet. But Mike, you're innovating, so tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
Mike McCart, I'm the Deputy Chief for Pulaski County Ambulance District, which is South Central Missouri. We're a little bit smaller. I run 8 trucks, 24 hours a day. We cover about 700 square miles and do about 6,000 calls a year. We run all ALS transports. We were just discussing, it was kind of neat too, how we were talking about that, but our systems are all based here in the States that we only get paid for transports.
Right.
So we've got a long way to go with the community paramedics and a lot of other places that we can pick the models from, but most definitely eager to do the innovation and ready to move on.
Very cool. Well, I'm the assistant CEO of our system, and I love what you guys have done, what's coming out. So tell me kind of the genesis of this new ambulance and what you guys are seeing as far as acceptance in your area.
We wanted to look at it from twofold. One, we wanted to look at it from a safety point of view to your patient or any of your gear.
Right.
So from an administrative point of view, we tell our guys you got to be safe, stay in a seat.
Yeah.
But we tell them on the other hand, you have to treat your patient, and we want you to get vital signs every 5 minutes. So
which is crazy.
Yeah, so they're conflicting things on there, and then looking at where we're going with the future of affordable health care and insurance returns and premiums. The days of us driving a huge mass cow truck that gets 5 miles a gallon, takes $2,500 to replace 6 tires on every single ambulance call is just, it's crazy. It's not sustainable. So we looked at the Sprinter truck and we partnered with FERNO and looking at how we can innovate and modify the ambulance to be a very efficient, very safe environment in a package that was safe in the first place, very highly efficient. Our truck right now for the last month and a half it's been on the road is averaging 19.5 miles per gallon.
Wow.
Right.
So when I'm
big
used
change.
to,
Big change.
if I'm used to paying 5 miles a gallon in our big Chevy Kodiak chassis, and now I'm going to almost 20 miles a gallon. So it's been pretty phenomenal. The crews have loved it.
Really?
We incorporated them from the very beginning in the planning process. So we've really revamped a lot of stuff looking at the truck, inventory controls, system management, how we're going to do those things. And now it's just getting everybody to understand that you can still do everything you want to do and everything's still maneuverable. A few of them are still stuck in the idea that it's mounted, so they can't move it because that's always been the way it's been.
That's right.
So now, because of the track system and the in-tracks design, I can modify the truck to be ergonomically acceptable to me.
Right.
Where you could modify the truck to be ergonomically acceptable to you. And I believe
that's the real appeal, isn't it? You know, there's a great opportunity there. Because if you run a system, you want to be as standard as possible, but recognise that there are specialisms or maybe inclinations that the staff have. You know, maybe you're left-handed, maybe you're right-handed, and maybe you want to, you know, just make that ergonomic switch.
Yeah.
So that's a great opportunity.
But you guys have been doing this kind of innovative, you know, even raising the patient up to your level, doing all kinds of interesting things in the UK where you never lift. So why would you guys be interested in this kind of new design?
Well, firstly, I've got to correct you, Mike. Every ambulance man in the world, every paramedic in the world has to lift. Maybe they just don't lift onto the back of the ambulance in the UK. But really, the genesis of vehicle design, you know, and it's not too dissimilar in the UK. We're faced with the same challenges. The patient's still the patient, right? Yep. And the staff are still the staff. You might have some protocols that are maybe different, and you might have some administration and bureaucracy that's slightly different. But at the end of the day, you know, your patients are what it's all about. And innovation doesn't stop, does it? You know, it's a continual improvement process. And, you know, just because we're a little bit ahead of you in terms of things like, you know, legislation and crash compliance and that kind of stuff, it doesn't mean that you can afford to stop thinking out of the box, or maybe in this case, inside the box.
So that's actually pretty funny. So when do you take delivery of yours? How long until you guys get one? I heard it's being built.
Oh right, okay. Right. So we've got two main prototypes that are being built. So we're doing a van conversion, which is on a slightly longer chassis than Mike's vehicle, and that was really just recognising that we're making this transition from a large box back ambulance. And again, I'll qualify that, a large box back ambulance in the UK is nothing to what you guys operate.
Right.
But a large box back ambulance, so we thought that, you know, that intermediate step of going from a box back to a van, it was right for us to just, you know, recognise that maybe we wanted a bit of flexibility. We don't operate vans in my system in the UK, and you know, I guess we want the opportunity and the flexibility to say, how do we maximise what we get out of this, both in terms of near patient monitoring and diagnostic equipment, but also recognising that, you know, we've got a bit of space that maybe we can enhance the welfare environment of the crew sitting in the front when they're on standby and they're not actually on a call.
Right.
So we're going to do that on a van conversion, and then we're going to do one on one of our traditional ambulances with a box back, and it's going to be really exciting, I guess, to have an opportunity to benchmark how those two operate, and to hear back from the patient and from the staff how it works.
Right. Well, and I bet we talked about this yesterday, how the ride quality in a Sprinter's better. We tried to early adopt a Sprinter a couple of years ago, and it didn't go well in our system because forward facing everything. But I'll tell you, with the in-tracks and all of the things there, I think it would have been a much different demo for our providers going, oh, well, now I can move things around. And so how's that acceptance been for the crew? You said it was hard. It's harder for them to think about it, but are you starting to see the crews come in every day and kind of modify it for them?
Yeah, some things they've done, and what we've done is that we've finalized what the inventory is going to be in each individual bag.
Okay.
So what we've told the crew is that you can modify where you put things in the truck, you can slide things up and down the wall, whatever works for you. The only thing you can't modify is the inventory inside each little bag.
Smart, right.
That way we have a committee that they submit something in writing to, and then we'll sit down and decide as a group, okay, yes or no.
Yeah.
But that way it's standardized. So if you know the IV bag has this, it always has that, and you don't change that. But yeah, once they understood that not only can I slide the wall and move it where I want to make it fit, but I can say, like you were saying, right-handed or left-handed, I can put my IV stuff across here if I don't want it here.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to grab things back and forth.
Right.
And when we looked at it, basically from the 5 percentile person all the way up to the 95 percentile person. I've got a couple guys that are 6'3", 300 pounds, and they say, it's a little tight, but it's a little tight everywhere.
Yeah. Right.
And when you're that big a guy, it's just a little
Right.
tight everywhere.
That's right.
And I could see the problem if you're going to the system where you're trying to take a forward-facing seat with a conventional truck that's got all the cabinetry,
Right.
how that would be a problem. Because if you have an 18-inch deep cabinet and you're sitting forward, you can't reach across the patient and into an 18-inch deep cabinet. But if you take that 18 inches and you stand it up on a wall and you put it at arm's length, now you can reach everything.
Right.
And it makes a world of difference. I believe that doing everything and diving into this with the forward-facing seats and the in-track system at the same time was a perfect marriage to move on.
So, go ahead.
So, Mike, I was just going to say, if you had some words of wisdom for us,
Yeah, that's good.
what is it that we avoid doing that maybe through the benefit of your experiences you can steer us away from?
I tried to just get huge buy-in from the crews from the get-go. Let them be involved, like you and I had talked offline. Let them be involved with everything. Once they start feeling like they have ownership, then they'll buy into it. If it feels like it's something that's being forced on them, EMS people don't like being forced on them. They don't like change anyway, but they really don't like forced change.
Yeah.
So give them the power and the buy-in to it. So anytime I went to the manufacturer, so Osage was our manufacturer, which was a phenomenal partnership because they're in our town or in our state. It was about an hour drive. So every time I went up to meet with Osage, I brought different employees with me. So every step of the way, I was getting buy-in from the employees as we were doing this. So then when it finally was finished and came in, they already think they own the thing and they're ready to go.
A great opportunity. And Chris, I've got another question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
So, Mike, you spoke about the fuel efficiencies that you're able to get from switching from your previous vehicle to this kind of vehicle. Have you been able to get any kind of data around task time length and job cycle time? Has that improved? Or what about processing time between shifts? Has that improved because actually, you can unclip a bag mount and put another bag mount up and then fit the original one or refill the original one sort of slow time. Talk to me about that kind of opportunity.
What we're looking at is eventually we'd like to have our entire fleet transition to this. So what we did initially was we went and had a committee look at the bags and they decided how they were going to work the bags. What we've seen in fuel economy is I went from primarily getting 5 to 7 miles a gallon in my fleet to this truck's getting 19.5 miles per gallon. So the savings right there is going to be phenomenal. The system we're looking at utilizing is just like you were saying. We talked about using individual bags.
Yes.
So you take the individual sections out of the safe walls, and you can just transition them out and have pre-filled bags hanging on a wall downstairs. If you totally use up all the wall, have like an airway bag that you can drop one and put the other one back in. So the turnaround times would be quick. The one cost savings that we've already looked at and seen was that we had an ambulance inspection in October, and one of the big things that they were looking for this year was expired items on the trucks. Well, anytime you've got more space, you're going to fill them up.
Right.
Yep.
So what we seen was we had like 6 bags of D5, 6 bags of normal saline, 6 bags of lactated ringers. Well, you'd use the first bag, you'd restock and put it in the same spot. So no rotation.
Exactly, yeah.
So between what we had in the basement and what we had throughout 8 trucks, we had over $10,000 in expired goods that we took off all of our trucks and out of our system. So by going to a smaller, leaner inventory control system, you don't overstock the truck. You stock what you need, and then you restock, so you have a much tighter control over what you're doing, so you're not wasting money.
So that really resonates with me. We spoke a little bit about the size and the scale of our system compared to yours, and just because it's a smaller system, it doesn't mean that the opportunities aren't scalable. And we did a really quick calculation and said that if we can speed up the process time, which we don't ask the staff to do, we've got a make-ready system that does that. But if we can speed up that processing time by 10 minutes a shift, that will save us $1.8 million.
Oh my gosh.
So, and it's essentially stuff that's an easy win. We're not asking people to change what they do or how they do it.
Right.
We're just asking to do it just a little bit shorter time, and get that done much more efficiently.
You know what I like about the bags is, we've all been on calls where you go in and it's like the bag vomited all over the person's floor, and now you've got to, you can go home and maybe now the bag didn't vomit, only certain small bags vomited, so now you can take all those out, clip new ones in, and you're ready to go. Absolutely. And you can restock the other ones. I think it's such a great system, and we're CAS accredited, so CAS has said that we have to have everything sealed now. So, and they've already put that into the system where you can now seal each individual bag, and you'll know if somebody broke the seal, you've got to check that bag, or even if it broke, you now know the integrity of that is broken. Let's fix it. So
we've basically
I love that.
taken that same concept, and instead of in the past where you had a Broslow bag that was extremely expensive to keep fully stocked, and it was usually put like under a bench seat out of the way somewhere because there's no place to keep it.
Right.
And what we've done is on the bottom half of one of the safe walls, we've taken 3 of the long pockets.
Nice.
And we've designed those to be Broslow bags that are already tagged. Wow. So now you don't have to try to go find the Broslow bag. You can just look straight across from you. It's the bottom 3 bags, depending on the size of the kid.
Right. I noticed you also have in your ambulance you do have a couple cabinets in there.
Yes.
What do you put in those?
The upper cabinets for now are actually hard built in, because that's going to be a prototype down the road that they're looking at for the in-track system, is actually having removable cabinetry.
Nice.
So you would...
Yeah, there's a prototype.
They have a prototype, lightweight, configurable, put them where you want kind of thing. But what we're using those for is the items that you don't use very often and the restock stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So if you've got the linens for the cot, an OB kit, irrigation supplies, little things like that. Yeah, stuff to restock, extra electrodes, things to restock your walls and your first in bags, so that you're still running multiple calls before you have to come back to the base if you need to. But you're not running a mass cal on every call.
Right, I love that.
Yeah, and if you leave the staff just to stock the vehicle without having the constraints and the parameters to do it, you're exactly right. They will overload it. We had an example where we moved from a traditional kind of ambulance model where we were expecting the staff to wash and stock the vehicle. They did that slow time. They didn't do it to a good standard, if I'm honest.
Right.
They weren't really inspecting the vehicle at the start of shift in any way, shape or form. And so because we wanted to release some of that opportunity, that clinician time, put that back on the road and stop them doing the sort of the housekeeping, we put in this make ready system. And we were hearing some real horror stories. So very reminiscent of the kind of figures that you were talking about, Mike. We had a 71% destruction rate of medical components and consumables, drugs. They were out of date, maybe not fit for use, maybe they were perforated. We found 17 oxygen bottles on a vehicle that's supposed to carry 4.
Wow.
We had on a car we had 96 oxygen masks. So bringing that opportunity to lean the whole system up, rotate your stock in a manageable and simple way. There's a really good news story there. So.
This is our first vehicle that we put the ACE-TEC system in.
Yeah.
And the ACE-TEC vehicle management system, and we've used a road safety product that has actually helped our drivers' modification, and it's been a phenomenal deal with the audible alerts and letting them know. We don't get the complaints of rough rides and all that stuff we used to get. But the thing that I've got out of the ACE-TEC that was phenomenal was looking at the reports and the data that I'm getting from the truck. I always knew that we idled our trucks too much, but there was no profound data that I could show. And in just the 2 months that we've had this vehicle, and we have one other vehicle we modified with an ACE-TEC so I could match in a big truck compared to our Sprinter. We're running 50% of our engine time is idle.
Wow.
Well, this truck is pretty lean, but if 50% of the engine time is idle, how much money could I save? If you expand that across my fleet, where the big Chevy trucks were running, there's 2 gallons an hour at idle time. Well, 50% of the time they're running is idle. That's a huge cost savings in fuel if we can just reduce the idle time. And now that with the ACE-TEC system, I was able to now have numbers. And I have hard data to say, look, this is what you guys are doing, and this is what will directly impact us and affect us down the road.
Nice. So we've had the control system from ACE-TEC on our vehicles. We've got 600 vehicles fitted with ACE-TEC. Not all of the AVI and the Eco-Run modules yet, but that's coming. But the control systems fundamentally. And what I like about the ASTEC system is that you've got the opportunity to record some of the most minute details that you would never even think about. So whether the vehicle's being shorelined and the battery status is good, if you want to go down the route of having photovoltaic solar panels on the roof, you can actually work out whether that's worth the investment or not, because you can monitor your currency and all of that kind of stuff. And we've got to embrace this technology. One of the things that we're really keen on doing, bearing in mind we operate across such a large patch with, as we said, a diverse rotating shift pattern that's 330 shifts a day, you don't always get the opportunity to manage your staff. The supervisors aren't always in the vicinity to correct that behaviour. So we really want to flip it on its head and say, let's have app-based reporting. Everybody's got a smartphone now. So let's give you a login, Chris. You can go in onto your performance, review how you perform against your peers, and then, before you have the conversation with your supervisor about your issues, you're already thinking, I need to change that on my next call.
Nice. Well, that's kind of where we're at today. I mean, we. Even the millennials, I do it too. I want to know how I perform over time, and to see it immediately and get that instant feedback is great. And Tim Schroeder told us yesterday about the new RFID system they're putting in to have better tracking of inventory. I'm like, what a great thing. I mean, just the innovation in those little minor things that are going to make our jobs, especially as managers, a lot easier. And the crews, I mean, really, that's what it's about. It's about them, keeping them safe and keeping the patient safe and doing care.
Absolutely.
The RFID with the asset controls, I mean, you get in a hurry and you leave an entire intubation bag. Well, if you do that 2 or 3 times a year, what happens if you lose a monitor? Now you're $30,000 down the hole.
Absolutely.
Or you lose
and in our system it happens. And of course, as you say, the crews are driving off. They don't know. Maybe they've left it in the home of the patient that they've just picked up. How can they access that again? Can they access that again? You don't necessarily know. Right. Do they realise it? So if you've got something that's coming up on a screen to alert them within the vehicle and says, hey, stop, don't pull away yet, you haven't got this, this and this, then at least you've got an opportunity to remedy that fault.
I'm not too big to say I haven't drove off and forgot a cot.
No, absolutely not. No.
It's always bad to know that you're driving to the next call without the cot.
When you show up on scene and you open the back doors,
done that. Oh, it's at the hospital.
What did we do with that?
We were cleaning the back and we left it in the garage.
Yeah, that's a bad call to your supervisor. Well, thank you guys very much. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do. I can't wait to see how many more trucks you get. When do you guys think you'll have implementation? When you don't know about delivery?
Yeah, I think we're probably aiming for the back end of the summer.
Oh, perfect.
For the first vehicle, and probably end of the fall for the second vehicle. So as a bit of a guesstimate, but we'll keep you posted.
Great.
And we'll definitely feedback.
Well, how can people find out more information or at least contact you?
Well, I think probably in the first instance, if they keep an eye on FERNO EMS websites and Facebook pages, then we'll develop a campaign around that, so that excellent. You guys can track what we're doing, and hey, come over and see us.
Oh, I'd love to. I love the UK. How about you? How can people get in contact with you to find out about your experience?
We do the same thing. We're posting everything with FERNO on their webpage.
Perfect.
What I can do is you can just email me or call me, and we can talk about how we're doing it. We're supposed to take possession of our second truck about the late summer, and hopefully have it on board. Would love to see another one by the end of the year. It'd be nice.
Well, I can't wait to find out more information. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this FERNO 2020 Vision series that we're doing. We've done it now for a couple of years, and it's great. And to see the vision come together and really what FERNO's doing for us in our industry, from the in-tracks through the NX, and everything in between. We're really appreciative of what FERNO's doing. And I'm Chris Montero with the EMS Garage. Thank you for watching this episode on the FERNO Vision 2020.